Hello, everybody. This is Phil. Doing a video now on a lot of poetry lately. Doing one right now. I'm kind of delving into the free rhyme realm of doing poems and poetry itself. Prose, it's my understanding through my studies over the years, prose is somewhat flowery language that lets you visually see something with the words and it evokes an emotion and like I said, flowery language. And so doing a spin on flowery language and prose per se, when I like rhyme, I've developed pretty much a free rhyme thinking, pouring it out on the page, letting my mind just basically continue with the topic that I'm thinking of and many other different rhyme schemes that might not make sense in written form on paper, but it makes sense once you put it down. It's free rhyme, it's kind of ad hoc, it's kind of off the cuff, it's kind of spontaneous. Doing free rhyme is a lot of poetry I like to do. It's kind of like if you were to be an artist and you're sitting there looking at one object you're painting. Okay. With the author, it's like looking at that object and everything that is related to it just pours out of you. Okay. And it's a good way to get in contact with your emotions, your feelings at the time about that subject matter. And you really would love to express it, but you don't know how. And if you do know how, you don't want to take so much time working on the I want to say the specifics, the literary or the grammatical sentence structure, and all the stanza for what have you, and um, you want it to make sense, but at the same time, you want to pour out those emotions you may have for what it may be, whatever the topic is. Um, Alcohol has been a devastating, um, I want to say, drug in my family over the years. I've also partaken in drinking throughout a large portion of my life where I stopped. And to me, it was more important to start writing. And I wanted to write and I wanted to prove I could do it. So, working on poems and poetry, so to speak, I thought of many rap songs growing up. Um, the rap songs in the 80s, the Beastie Boys, um, Two Live Crew, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Humpty Dumped, Tone Loc. I thought of a lot of, at the time, more positive rap, and I thought of the schemes and how they might speed up the verse to make it fit, and they might slow it down to make it fit and make it rhyme and match at the same time. And I was like, huh, okay, it appears to me they're doing a certain amount of free rhyme there. And I said, well, let's apply that to a subject where I've seen something as devastating as addiction or alcoholism affect my family, especially my dad. And I thought about it. And so one day I was just, all these things came through my mind and they needed to come out. They needed to come out at a time in my life where I was homeless and I was just doodling, like I always talk about. And so I did one poem. It's called Alcohol. And I'm going to recite it right now. And bear with me. It's free rhyme, so it's not in any particular measured or metered standard, okay, or stanza in a certain structure. It's not. It's free rhyme in paragraph form, and I hope you enjoy. But it's another way you can do poetry. There's so many different ways you can do poetry and enjoy yourself. Um, Venting, okay, or you knew the subject matter and you just thought it would be interesting to expound upon it and let people uh, know your thoughts, you know. Also, working on the streets of DC and seeing drugs and alcoholism there was really apparent how alcohol destroys more lives more than people understand. You know, it is very deceptive, like all addictions. and it sneaks up onto you when you ruin your life, regardless if it's getting incarcerated, regardless if it's killing someone accidentally, um, having an accident, regardless if it's getting arrested for selling a lot of dope and also using it, getting family members addicted also, um, just totally tuning out from life in general and what God has to offer us in this life. So I'm going to do a recitation real quick about alcohol, and it's free rhyme. It's going to be in the disappeared. Drinking long to despair, worried sick, losing hair. Tip another, many to down. One's not enough, hell-bound. Beer, the ultimate mellow, but can't talk and say hello. Yes, a social divide, but who wants to hide? Run and hide from your youth, trauma disguised in youth, hidden family abuse, liquid courage in use, crying to get release, hungover, elusive peace. Wine is not, wine is next to alleviate ease, to halt the torrents, life appeased. A revolving door, purgatory hell. You can't sleep, putrescent smell. What to do, a constant wonder. Drink another bottle, ponder. How to stop this train wreck? You need a sip, a drop, a speck of pure grain and liquor. So they cheer, it's quicker. Oh, racing thoughts and tormented, wet brain, inane, actions demented. Synapses firing off so wrong. The reins pained in the throngs of violence and false pretense. No soul left, zero recompense. But God, is He ever present as you slip and fall in descent? Nothing can help you but you as you restart life on cue. From the bottom to rise, a phoenix in shiny guises. It will be a step by step life without lies, deceit, and rife. Do it yourself and stop the theft, the devil and hell, the bereft. Live, enjoy God's grace, raise above, no alcohol trace. Spread your wings and fly right, high above the swill and in spite. Take what is given and enjoy God's word of truth. Employ. Salvation is nothing but free when you're free from the drinking sprees. So I wrote that probably in 2011 in between surgeries, and I just had to get it out. I just had to get it out thinking of my dad and a lot of destruction. Even when he made amends with the family, how the family reacted after he passed away for their own reasons, but then also lashing out, I want to say horizontally at other siblings. It happens in every family. It really does. And it's kind of proof of the destruction that alcoholism can do to any one family at any given time. So, also in that time frame, I wanted to do a quick, more ephemeral, kind of sadder poem that I was running through my head, and I wanted to say all the rhymes matched, and they were just running through my head one day, and I was sitting in the front of the Thurman Brisbane homeless shelter post surgery because I couldn't work. I could barely walk. And the hierarchy there, they're very crazy. They're insane for a homeless shelter, and they work within their own code. Um, and how they survived this long, I don't understand. But this wasn't a lashback at them. I am actually very appreciative, and I saw some good that program did helping the homeless people that want to get back on their feet. That's the difference. But if you're post surgery and you can't work, there's not much you can do in a 3 month uh, period, even when you're trying to heal yourself and you can walk 200 feet and then you have to stop. And then you walk another 200 feet all over town and you have to stop. Anybody that has been post surgery with a devastating surgical procedure or removal of an organ or part of something, when I had colon surgery, I'm not afraid to speak about that. It was something I overcame, and I overcame doing poetry. Um, However, when I was there at the Thurman Brisbane Center, it was very cold end of winter day, and it was raining. And the black people there that smoked didn't want people chewing tobacco in the place or out back. And the management of Thurman Brisbane said all people that use regular snuff or dip tobacco, chewing tobacco, you have to go off the property to chew it, while many minorities are in the back underneath an awning out of the rain, smoking their ports, smoking their menthol Marlboros. And I thought about that to myself. And I wasn't trying to be self-gloating or loathing at the time. I thought about that. And I'm walking to the bus stop that was considered county or Fredericksburg city property. And I took a dip, and I could barely get there. I'm walking, and I'm soaking wet, and it's cold as hell, like 33 degrees, but raining, or 34 degrees. It was like super cold. And I'm sitting there, and everything just poured out of me with this one um, poem that I'll love and cherish to my dying day. And I've dedicated it to my good friend that I played high school football with, Dallas Gibson, who died of alcoholism, I believe, too young. And I dedicated Chasm to him, the name of the poem. And it was more short, ephemeral, more nature oriented, and it was everything I felt that day on a dismal, raining, end of winter, before spring day that was really cold and wet, and I hate to say it, lonely. And unfortunately, a lot of inspiration comes from real life events, and the inspiration spurs what I think is some of the best art in the world, not just with me or anybody else, but anybody aspiring to be a prolific author. And I'm aspiring to be a prolific author, but I'm not that good at poetry. I don't like prose, I don't like haiku, and some of my sarcasm with some of my poetry um, shows doing poetry itself. Poetry and rhyme verse I like, and I like tongue twisters, and I like very complex and dedicated poetry, where if you read it, you get it. Uh, anyways, I'm not one of those professional readers, anyways, at symposiums who will read some famous author's work. That's not me. Anyways, so I wrote Chasm that night, and I wrote it the first time, very little adjustment, if anything, for the stanza to make sense going down the page. And it was one of the easiest poems I did within like 10, 15 minutes. And it was because it was in my heart and it was just pouring out that day. It was just something that just kept on running through my head. And when I was talking about another video, prolific writers, good writers, and writers that love to write, they can write their dreams. They can have a good dream, and it was so visually conceptualized, and the visualization was so beautiful that they write it and they add something like that into a dreamscape, into a setting, perhaps something in their written work, an ongoing story. And when they can do that, they have made the grade. They don't have to be published to know that they can write. They already made the grade. I'll give credit to where it's due with other writers. But when it comes to poems and prose and being too flamboyant with it, that's not Phil P. Francis McNichol. Anyways, here's Chasm, and it was written in about literally a half an hour after I adjusted it. Chasm. A canyon's width, and deep is my soul, for where I had died, I began my large hole. A black hole's darkness, and forever alone. No light has warned me, no light to be shown. Where the stars are bright and far may twinkle, I stand in the rain and pray for a sprinkle. Drowning I may, and suffocate I do. The oceans as my heart are a sea of slag blue. Look long in my chasm, God's thrown away trash, and torch my abyss from cinder to ash. For that smoky bottom I will lastly lay the Lord's forgotten one, all debts to be stayed. So that was the background for Chasm. And I do believe spiritually and philosophically that even if we feel we are left behind or something didn't come our way in life, I think the good Lord knows who we are. And we believing in Him is sometimes happiness enough, love enough to feel saved, to feel blessed that you're alive, breathing well, and everlasting life is awaiting you at the end of our lives. I truly believe that, even writing this poem. And I felt abandoned that day. And a few days after that, using that bus stop for my tobacco use. However, I knew Jesus was there. I was just waiting. I felt like I was kind of holding my breath underwater, coming up for air a little, seeing how it is, waiting for things to change. And I just had to heal, all in all. And doing those poems healed me. They helped heal me. And I feel healed now. I feel strong as an ox. I feel healthy, even after 2 bouts of COVID and losing 2 great close friends this year that broke my heart. So I just wanted to share some poetry. And anybody that wants to be a writer, they have to conquer all avenues of literary art, even professional art or professional authoring, like newspaper articles, something you want to publish at work that's work related and more scientific in nature or more to the point in nature. And the Associated Press style book has all that information. I've studied years, and then I stopped getting the copy over and over again because they updated it some, and some of it was just hogwash about how you have to um, watch some things you say because of a certain inference. And when you write a word or something, my belief is what it says is what it says. And you can infer a lot of things, and you can tell a million people a million different ways, like my caffeine poem, how to screw off without being any more negative than just another human being saying hello. And they won't get it. They won't get it until the end of the day, and you're like, anyways. But the AP style book and all these different things I love doing. People need to study and read these things. There's many groups on Facebook alone with a lot of newer writers, and it's not that they don't have a clue. It's not that they're not virgins, so to speak. It's that the group administrators that set up these fly by night writers groups, even the administrators have no idea about the professional world. I know many authors on there that claim that they've had numerous books by contract that they had published, and they're publishing 10, 15 books, the same genre, the same kind of byline, the same characters in different form or continuation, like part 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay, of an ongoing epic drama or horror scene. And it's just trash. It's just trash. And I don't know what these companies are doing except trying to publish less than spectacular work, not from the heart, not from experience, not from even research. I can research stuff. I'm not someone who can just imagine history and remember something from high school 30 years ago, pop it out of my head. Some things I can, because what I did study related to something in my older adult life. But them thinking that they are so professional and they made the grade. Okay, maybe they did with a $30,000 contract for 10 books. That's $3,000 per book you have to do paperback. That is trash. It's trash fiction thrown together. And they are the ones that are running people off that are professional writers like myself. And they want to make sure no one gets paid. That same kind of mindset, not helping other writers, not being truthful about the authoring field, is why people stop following their dreams. However, when people follow their dreams, they do have to try every avenue out of anything, professional courtesy, so that they become skilled in their art. And even other authors like myself would love to read their work. I will never buy a book from anybody else like a J.K. Rowling. Okay, nice author. She ain't the greatest, and she's not all that to have so many Harry Potter novels put out. I opened up one page and I found 2 typos. Her big light blue book. This was about 10, I want to say 12 years ago, maybe 2009. I forgot what novel it was. Opened up one page and I found 2 typos, periods missing, and commas missing, and it just looked like trash. And so I read a whole chapter to see if I was imagining it, and there was a lot of typos. Same thing. I'm like, these publishers, they're not doing the due diligence to revere English literature, and so it's up to us, the authors, to study it and know as much as possible, whether it's poetry, prose, haiku, uh, an editorial, an actual novella, the long game, and a novel, and how we're going to go about it. Okay, are we going to write a charter one day? Are you going to be entrusted as an author to write a charter for humanity to declare our freedom? Think about it that way. How educated would you be if you had to sit there and write a 10,000 page charter of freedom for humanity? Could you do it? I think I could. Anyways, thank you guys, and I appreciate you sitting in with me tonight. I'm going to upload this video and I'm going to share it all over Facebook as much as I can, because Facebook banned me from sharing with the groups, because I'm sure some of those writer groups got offended by my last video from YouTube and doing poetry. They consider that spamming. It's like, no, that's helping out other authors, and it's showing some of my work and showcasing it for once. No one else will. Anyways, thank you guys. Please have a great evening.